Good morning, everybody. It's Karen coming here from my craft room, getting into the Halloween spirit, and going to show you today how to make this fun coffin-shaped treat box for family and friends. I made this featuring the Fabulous collection and wanted to show you kind of the assembly video for it. And I will link at the video, as well as on my blog post about this, to a downloadable PDF that will contain pictures and directions and cutting directions for the paper that you need for this and how to assemble this. So if you don't worry about following along and writing down dimensions, because I will have this all for you in the link. So I just enjoy watching the video and see how I pull this together. So I'm just going to move this off to the side. To create this, you're going to need about a little bit of scrap here. So you're going to really need 2 sheets of pattern paper. This is from our Fabulous collection. I've been playing with it, so I'm kind of working down to some scraps. And the double-sided paper. Now, to cover the lid and to do the sides, you really only need 1 sheet if you're doing a paper that you like the front and back of. So you don't necessarily need 2, but I use 2 because I happen to like this combination of papers. You're going to need 1 sheet of cardstock. I usually try to get a good weight, and I do like the weight we have from Close to My Heart. It's a nice strong cardstock. You're going to need a trimmer. And if you happen to have a scoring blade for your trimmer, if you don't have that and you have a scoring platform, that's going to be fine. You'll need your scissors. You're going to need some strong adhesive. I use this adhesive tape from Close to My Heart. And you'll need some regular adhesive. So, and I'm using a white pen to show you some of the markings here, but you can use a pencil, whatever works best for you. So I'm just going to put my tools aside. Now, first part we're going to do is we're going to cut our pattern paper. So what I did is I cut this piece, and I was careful with the directionality of this piece as I was cutting it. So I cut 1 strip that is 5.5 inches wide. From that, I just cut a piece that is 3 inches wide by 5.5 inches tall. That's going to be my lid cover. The rest of it is scrap. From my dot paper here, I cut 2 strips that are 1/2 inch tall by 12 inches wide. You're going to need 1 full strip and probably a little less than half of the other strip. So you could use this for definitely multiple projects. From my cardstock, the first thing I did was I cut 1 piece that is 5 inches wide, 12 inches tall. And then from that, I cut that into 4 pieces that are 3 inches wide by 5.5 inches tall. This is going to be, you're going to use 2 for the lid, 2 for the base. Reason I use 2 is I always add a layer on the inside. It covers over some of the tabs from where I adhere it. And it also gives an extra layer of stability to the piece. So then from the remainder of this, you're going to cut 2 strips, and I'll walk you through this, 2.5 inches wide by 12 inches tall. These are going to be the strips you're going to use to create the sides of your base and your lid. Now they're going to be very similar cuts, and I will have the cutting diagram for you in the PDF, like I said. So I'm just going to put this aside. So what we're going to do, from the first piece, I am going to cut, the first thing I cut is one of the, I'm just going to move this out of the way, one of the box sides, 4.25 inches long, 2.5 inches tall, 2.25 inches tall. Next 2 pieces are going to be 2 5/8 inches long. These are the top sides. Another one, 2 and, make sure I'm lining it up right. 2 5/8. And then this last piece is, I'm just making sure my directions, my top, which is going to be 2.5 inches wide. So as you can see, I tried to do what I could to get as little scrap as possible. Now from the next 2.25 inch piece, I'm going to cut another piece that is 4 1/8. There's your other side. Then my next piece is going to be 2 inches tall, like 2 1/4. So there's my bottom. So that's what I have. So from this remaining, I'm going to cut one piece that is, again, this is going to be 4 1/8. Now I'm working on my lid. I'm going to turn this, cut this down to 1 1/4. So there's my lid, one lid side. And from this piece, this piece is 2 1/4 by 1 3/4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this. I'm going to cut it to 2 inches. This is going to be my bottom. And then cut this down to 1 1/4. So there's my bottom piece. Now from the remaining strip, my 1 1/4 inch strip, I'm going to cut one more 4 1/8. I'm going to cut and then I'm going to follow the same thing. 2 that are 2 5/8. Here's my second side. And then the last piece is going to be 2.5. So that's a little bit. And there's my top. So I have all of my pieces here. I should have 2 of each part of the lid and the base. So you can see, kind of, I just put them there to show you. Now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be scoring these. So I'm going to change my blade out for my scoring blade. These pieces are going to be scored. What we're going to do on all the pieces is we're going to score them at 1/2 inch and then turn it and 1/2 inch. So this we're going to do on every piece. Once we've scored them, and make sure that you're always keeping it on the same side. So if you score the right side, score the right side on all. If you score the left, score the left on all, because I'll show you as we go to do assembly, kind of making a daisy chain, so you want your tabs to all line up. I'm going to cut out that corner, and this is what we're going to do on all of our pieces, so that what you'll have, I'll just fold this. I don't think you need to sit there and see me cutting all my pieces. My 2 sides, my top, and my bottom. So there's all of my pieces, all scored. They're basically doing that on all of them, lid and base. So I'm just going to move this aside. Since I already have these pieces scored, and I'm just going to move these aside to make the coffin shape. Move this out of the way for a second. I am going to use my mat, and then I'm going to take one of the pieces of black cardstock, line it up on my grids. And then I'm using a white pen here because I want to show you guys just how to mark it. So for the bottom, I'll bring it down a little bit so you can see. So for the bottom, your bottom is 1.5 inches wide. So I'm marking 3/4 in from the right, 3/4 in from the left. Then on the top, it's 2 inches wide. So I'm going to mark 1/2 inch in on the right and 1/2 inch in on the left. So that makes my, now the sides of this, just line this up. Your top sides are 2 inches long. So I'm going to mark 2 inches here, 2 inches here. So these are my markings. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my trimmer, I'll move my mat out of the way, put my blade back in. And you could do this with a ruler and cutting knife or whatever, but now I am lining up my markings. So top marking, side marking. And trim that off, rotate it. So this trimmer has a kind of a wire down the center, so I am lining up my wire. Then here we go, just trying to line this up. And you're going to do this on all 4 of those pieces, as well as your pattern paper lid cover. So you'll end up with 4 pieces. I've just got 2 here, but you're going to have 4 pieces, and then you're going to have of the black like this, and you're going to have your lid cover like this. So now I can put my trimmer away, and I'm going to pull out my adhesive tape. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pieces, and what I do is I'm going to put adhesive tape along the side tab and the bottom tab for all pieces. And I'm doing this with the base of the coffin, but it's the exact same procedure for the lid. I love this sticky tape because it's nice and strong. It's great for paper crafting projects. I like the way it adheres. I've been using it for a long time. I've always trusted good, strong adhesives. And this is also good tape for adhering ribbon to a layout. I've used it for chipboard and stuff. It's because I just like the strength of it. My only thing, and this is a weird, kind of peculiar thing with it, is that the cover for the tape, once you peel it off, it gets a little bit staticky. So I will walk out of my craft room and I'll have some pieces of tape cover stuck to my clothing, stuck to my hands. It sticks everywhere. That's about my only thing with it. I know it's a strange, weird thing, but that's me. And it is staticky. And I happen to have my fingernails today, which normally my fingernails tend to break a lot. If you have trouble with this, then I would use tweezers. Tweezers are good for kind of peeling the cover off of this. So there we go. So I've got my pieces. So what I'm going to do, and I'm just kind of calling this a daisy chain. So you're going to start with your bottom. You're going to peel the side. Oops. And my fingernails maybe aren't going to cooperate today. There we go. Peel the side off. And then I usually try to do this under good light. Just kind of line up your piece with the score line from the tab. Just like that. And you're going to follow that. I want to make sure, because the one thing to be careful of is the top and the sides are very close in width. So I just kind of always hold them together to see which one is the smallest, which is that one, because that's the top. So my next piece is one of my sides, my upper sides. There we go. Daisy chain this here. Then I'm going to use my top. Sometimes, yep, my fingernails aren't cooperating today. There we go. And like I said, it's static. It's already sticking to me. Now I'm going to go back down. and I'm going to leave this open. I'm not going to adhere it at the bottom. There we go. One more this, and then the last bottom side piece. There. So this is what I have, kind of a daisy chain. Now to adhere it to your coffin shape, I start with the, I've been starting with the bottom. You can really start with whatever piece you want. I started with the bottom just because it was easier for me to work my way around. Trying to pull this cover off. Some days I have fingernails, some days I don't. There we go. Okay. You see, there goes the static. All right. So try to do this so you can see it. I'm going to adhere, I'll put that on the inside. This piece right at the edge. And then I'm going to turn it. Take my next piece of adhesive off. Adhesive cover off. There we go. And then fold it under, and then I'm just being careful about lining up my edges as I work my way around. And it's okay sometimes if you, this is where I keep my scissors handy, because sometimes if things didn't score completely the way I wanted them to, or I might have adjusted the sides a little shorter than I want, you know, because it is paperwork, so you can kind of tuck it in and line it up. And this, one thing about this is be very careful before you do it. And I just had this, yeah, I just had a little corner that just decided not to cooperate. That's fine. It's paper crafting. It's always never completely perfect. So that, there. And then once I do this last side piece, I can get the cover off of the adhesive. There we go. So tuck this in, take this down. Then this last piece is going to tuck behind the bottom that we already adhered. Just got to get this pulled. Yeah, sometimes the fingernails don't want to work. There we go. I'll tuck this in. And there is my coffin base. And the reason why I do this extra piece is so that I will put adhesive on the back of it and put it inside to adhere it. And that is how you put together the coffin base. You follow the same procedures for the lid, and the lid will fit nice and snugly on top. So you have your two. And then what I have done is I use some adhesive to decorate, put the cover on this, and then I wrapped my strips around it. And then I have a little skeleton here on a tag and stamped with the Fabulous stamp set. I colored him in with some of the tri-blend markers, and I just adhere this on the top. And I don't think you need to see me going around, so I just wrapped this around it, worked my way around. So I actually started at the bottom, worked my way around, and then I found I needed the second part of it, so I lined it on a seam, brought it around, and then I just kind of cut it off at the bottom, cut off the excess. And that is how you make this cute coffin-shaped Halloween treat box. And I hope you enjoy this. And like I said, look for the link to the downloadable PDF, which will have step-by-step directions and cutting directions and photos of it on this YouTube piece, as well as on my blog post. Thank you guys for joining me, and I hope you enjoy this and hope you get to share some fun treats with your family and friends this Halloween.